coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
And hell hath cometh again for college football. Had a few bowl games already today. I think I was watching Nebraska and Boston College earlier. But I just wanted to get in here today and address the Oklahoma fans who I've had a pretty decent relationship with for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm not you're just some kind of rival troll. You know, yes, I am an Alabama fan, but I must admit I have grown somewhat attached to the Oklahoma program as well over the last 2 or 3 years because we all had something in common, and that was grilling the hell out of Stinky Linky. Oh, Linky boy. Oh, TBOW, as y'all like to call him, the bitch out west, the skittle shitter out west. There's many adjectives for Lincoln Riley. But I want to come here today because I made a comment the other day in my shorts videos that is sort of aggravated some Oklahoma fans. But surprisingly, a lot of Oklahoma fans have actually supported what I'm saying about the whole situation and the fact that I was really disappointed in how things shook out yesterday with the football game in Fort Worth. I think it's the Military Bowl or the Armed Forces Bowl with the Navy. A lot of people will say, you know, well, this was not that big of a deal. We didn't have a lot of players. We only had 56 players and yada, yada, yada. But it's absolutely a big deal to me as a college football fan. Yeah, it's just one game. I understand that. And a lot of people will say, well, it was just one loss. It didn't really make that big of a difference. But it did. The optics of it for me made a big difference on the outside looking in, as well as for recruits out there. Now, if it went from 8-4 to 9-3 or 9-3 to 8-4, maybe not such a big deal. But because of where the loss was placed precariously on the slate here, you go from being a winning team to a losing team. And that matters. It may not matter to some of you, but it matters to me. And, you know, you got a lot of Mary Poppins fans out there, and I sort of said this to Killer Breeze off air. He's like, what do you mean by Mary Poppins fans? I say it all the time. I just assumed everybody knew what I was getting at. When I say Mary Poppins fans, I mean fans that all they want to do is hear the good stuff. They don't want you criticizing their team. They don't want you saying anything critical, not even if it's constructive. They want you to be holding hands and frolicking through the tulips and telling you everything is going to be okay. Everything is fine. Everything's great with my team. Well, it's not always great with your team. It's not always great with my team or anybody's team. So, yeah. Now, let's see who we got up in here already. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and give a random Four Horsemen shout out because I like to do that now. I'm going to actually make this a podcast after this goes from the live stream to podcast. So y'all make sure you jump out, smash the like button. Let's get more people up in here. This is a odd time to do a live stream. First time I've ever done a midday stream. So smash the like button and share to your friends. Today's Four Horsemen shout outs go to Rick Birdwell, Tammy Burton, Richard Burton, and Corrections 101 are saddled up, mounted up, and ready to go. They're going to help us with today's college football live stream invasion. But the issue I had with that game also was some of the coaching at the end. Went up 14-0, man, on Navy. Now, I know Navy's 9-3, and maybe it shouldn't matter. It's just a mid-major bowl. But to me, like I said earlier, it absolutely matters to me because of the optics. 9-3 for Navy, yes, but they are very shaky 9-3, just like Clemson was a very shaky 9-3. Losing to Navy on a national stage, to me, just it's not acceptable, especially when you go up 14-0. And you keep hearing these bleeding hearts from Michael Hawkins out there. And I'm not trying to piss y'all off when I say this, so please don't wet your diapers over this and rash up. Michael Hawkins, to me, is not an SEC caliber quarterback. Now, he may be one day. He may come into his own. I may be wrong. But right now, looking at him, he does not look like an SEC caliber quarterback. And for the people with bleeding hearts out there that keep talking about Michael Hawkins deserves the first shot, no, he don't. He deserves to be on the same playing field as Mateer and to get a shot at starting, but he shouldn't have a leg up in any way because I don't get the whole material thing. Not material, but this has got me aggravated, man. Michael Hawkins, I think a lot of people give him a break. Now, if it was someone else, like Jackson Arnold, for example, everybody's just flaming on him. But Michael Hawkins, for some reason, gets a pass, it seems like. And I think it's because he was born and raised in Oklahoma. And we don't need to be giving him a pass just because of his geographical location growing up as a high school player. It should be about just the player, just the talent, not where he grew up at. Just because he was born and raised in Oklahoma doesn't mean he deserves an extra pass. That'd be like me saying that about an Alabama player playing for Alabama. That's all I'm saying. But got plenty of comments coming in. If y'all want to get your comment pushed to the top and you want me to address your comment above everybody else's, there's a little $1 sign at the bottom. And click on it, write your comment out, make a little small donation to the program to push it to the top. Now, I do have some people in here with their badges. I will address them too. Dale Sense in the house. As a lifelong Sooner fan who lived through the Blake era, yesterday was an all-time low for the OU program and brand. The SEC should be ashamed of Oklahoma. And I am getting a lot of that. It's sort of 50-50. The fans are sort of split. And I actually got a few comments from some people regarding the whole situation with Oklahoma losing the Navy. While some fans think it's not a big deal, to me it's absolutely a big deal. Man. I'm sorry, but I'm just a college football connoisseur. I love college football in general. Now, I'm starting to lose a little bit of the luster I have for college football, I'll be honest, because of this NIL transfer portal crap that they refuse to put any kind of rules upon. It makes me want to almost go back to watching the NFL. And I've been got to where I hate NFL, but I will go back to watching NFL because at least in the NFL, they have rules in place to keep all this Wild Wild West shit from happening, teams tampering with one another. See who else is up in here. Sooner, let's see, we got Rye Guy 1218s in the house. Navy this year is as good as they can ever get. That's true, but I will say that if Navy had played in the SEC or the Big Ten or even the Big 12, they wouldn't have been 9-3. I don't think so. Maybe 7-5. Sooner Cowboy says 2 6-7 seasons with a loss to Kansas last season. Now lost to Navy. BV has ruined this program. Looks like there's a lot of people in here that might agree with me. Maybe I won't get as many unsubscribers this time. Now, Killer Breeze told me not to mention that, but I just couldn't help myself. John Christophick's in the house as always. Hi, Outlaw. What's up, John Christophick? He's a regular in here. That's why I popped him up there. Killer Breeze is in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. He says we could have Joe Montana as a pro back. There, as a quarterback, it wouldn't matter. We are in big trouble, says Killer Breeze, who I might bring in here in just a second if he wants to be on, so he can give an Oklahoma's perspective, because I know there's going to be a lot of people who's going to see my little Alabama belt in the background. But if you notice, there's a Boomer Sooner on top, and I got an Oklahoma hat next to the Alabama hat. So I'm not coming in here just grilling on Oklahoma trying to troll y'all and piss y'all off if y'all have never been on here before, if this is your first time in here. But let's go ahead and bring up some comments from earlier today that I got on the feedback from the short video I did the other day when I was grilling Brent Venables. By the way, before I get into the comments, I would also like to address that call on the 2-point conversion. Now, y'all haven't been really scoring all day, Brent. It'd been different if Oklahoma had been scoring all day and it was a game in the 40s. I could understand you going for 2 right there. But you only had put up 14 points all day, and all 14 points had come in the first quarter. Your team fought back, converted a 4th down, and scored a touchdown to put themselves in position to tie the game and to potentially win that game in a higher percentage arena in overtime. And you passed on it for a 50-50 play, Brent. To me, that's a bad read, man. You got to read the room, man. You got to read. And to go for 2 right there when your offense has been struggling all day, you scored your first 14 points in the first quarter, hadn't scored since until then. was a bad call, in my opinion. A lot of Oklahoma fans got pissed off at me for saying that because for whatever reason, they want Brent to be Teflon. And I've been taking up for Brent for the last 3 years, so I don't understand why people automatically turn on me when I decide to say, hey, maybe there's something that ain't quite right here. I mean, why would you go for 2 and just take the opportunity away from your team to win the game in overtime? Like I said, read the room. If you've been scoring all day, then yes, you do go for 2 right there. That would be a great ballsy call. And that's another thing. People are like, well, he just showed that he's heroic and he's got balls. Well, that's great and all until you lose the game. Balls is great, but you got to pick your spot to show your balls. And that's all I'm saying. He picked the wrong spot to try to come out there and show he had that moxie and them balls. It was the wrong spot and the wrong time. You got to read the room, Brent, and that wasn't the time to go for 2, man. You only scored 14 points all day. Get in overtime. It's not like Navy have been lighting up the scoreboard either. They'd only scored 21 points too. So I just think it was a bad call. And not being able to read the room like that, it's just, and he's been here for 3 years now, so he should be able to read the room a little bit better. Maybe I'm overreacting to that. Y'all drop in the comment section. Let me know if I'm overreacting to that. I may be overreacting just a little bit to it, but I just thought that it was a bad decision considering how well Oklahoma's offense had played the entire day. We got our first donation of the day. It comes from Appalachia, Africa Twin. He's a great West Virginia guy, great West Virginia fan, and he's got a pretty good on the road type podcast. He gets out there on his motorcycle and drives around in the great backwoods of these United States of America. Great podcast. Go check Appalachia, Africa Twin out. If OU fans are unhappy with BV, Neil Brown is available for hire. Now, see, that's a troll job. Appalachia's going to come here and troll y'all because he's a West Virginia guy, and West Virginia don't really like Oklahoma. I understand why. Oklahoma sort of had beaten them a few games in a row before he left the Big 12. So, yeah. So, he's saying that y'all can hire Neil Brown. That's his comment of the day. Now, let's bring up some comments from people out from that short that I done the other day. All right. Just so y'all know, I'm not the only one saying this, and we already got a few people in here already that are with me on this. See if y'all can see this first before I start reading them out. All right, this one is from user CL, a.k.a. Jay. Outlaw, I agree. BV didn't give us an extra chance to win. Heroic, but dumb. Once again, I disagree with the whole heroic adjective there. And the next one is this. This comes from Killer Breeze. Even Killer Breeze, a regular on our show, a great Oklahoma roughneck, is even getting a little testy with some of the Brent Venables mannerisms. Killer Breeze says, OU and BV deserve a healthy dose of criticism. The performance against Navy was pathetic. After 3 years of BV at the helm, OU is nowhere close to where the program should be. Recruiting was down this year. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the portal madness and NIL has left us with a roster that is dubious at best. I love BV, but I don't think he can do the job anymore. Next one is from Larry Cal. Larry Cal says, I agree. I was saying, no, don't go for 2. What are you thinking? I'm sure Hawkins will learn a lot watching Mateer next year. I just don't see Hawkins beating Mateer out for the job. I don't see Hawkins beating anybody out for the job in the future. I'll be honest with you. I think it's because he's a homegrown boy. Everybody wants us to see him do well. And I want to see him do well too. But I just don't think Hawkins, I think he was a 3-star coming out of high school. I just don't think Hawkins has got what it takes to be an SEC caliber quarterback. But that's just my opinion. And like I said, He may show me up next year or 2 years from now. Hawkins may be the man. I don't know. But then my prediction is he won't be. All I'm saying is don't get pissed off at me for having an opinion. The next comment comes from Paul Wayne 8576. Paul Wayne says, what makes you think you can get 2.5 yards if you can't get 4th and 1 twice? Man, 3 weeks to prepare. I call BS. Exactly. Jesus must have told him how stupid that call was. That's what I would have said. Says Denny Dennison. My gun sweetness says Mateer will be the starter. It was a shit show. Embarrassing. Todd Neva says, fire Brent. Second losing season. I've been a fan since 1982. I'm done. Batiste 9049 says Hawkins played okay, but he needs a lot of improvement, especially on his touch passing. I'm not sure Venables can win, even with Mateer. So that was some of the comments that I got on my short video the other day. What do y'all think about that? So see, I'm not the only one saying it. I'm just saying that Brent Venables, to me, going to this bowl game may have exposed him a little bit. It may have actually been better had Oklahoma not even went to a bowl. Because now, losing to Navy and showing the propensity not to be able to read the room and know the flow of the game, it can cost you many, many games, many close games in the future. Not just to Navy. But there are some positives. We'll throw out some positives. I got a list here of positives, if y'all want to hear them. Oklahoma positives, got my little notepad here, a little old school style like y'all like. Good recruiting, number one. Been pretty good recruiting since he's been here, although, like Gillespie said, this year's been slipping a little bit, so that may not be a positive anymore. Number two, y'all beat Alabama and Auburn. So y'all are undefeated against the two Alabama schools who are usually cowbells of the conference. So y'all do have that in your feather in your cap. You did beat Alabama, although you can't just base your program off of beating Alabama. Now, if you're Vanderbilt, yes, that's a great win. It's something you can base your program on, and going forward, you can strive to win 7 or 8 games a year. But for Oklahoma, they're a blue blood. Just beating Alabama is not going to keep your job, Brent. Now, granted, it probably did take some heat off of you there towards the end of the year. But now the heat's right back on because you got blew out by LSU, and now you got beat by a Navy team that probably would have been, had the Navy been in the SEC, Navy would have probably won 4 games, maybe 3, maybe even less than that. Just saying. Number 3, y'all got Arbuckle and Mateer, both great minds of football. Ben Arbuckle is a guy that's up and coming. A lot of people in a lot of circles say the guy's going to be a great coach one day. And then you got John Mateer to come with him. And that's about all the positives I can think of, unless you want to go outside the box and talk about how well your basketball team's doing and softball team's a 4-time national champion. But how long is Oklahoma as a fan base going to be happy with just winning softball national championships? Negatives, questionable coaching calls. Number 2, 2 losing seasons in 3 years. At Oklahoma, that's unacceptable. Now, the first 2 years, you got to give them a little leeway because of the shit that Lincoln Riley pulled. Okay? But this is the 3rd year, and I was even going to let this slide. If y'all had come out and done what you were supposed to do against Navy, even with 56 players, man, you should be able to beat Navy by at least, I'd say, 2 or 3 scores. But you didn't. So now there's some questions, some doubt is creeping in amongst a lot of Oklahoma fans out there. Not just me as a rival fan. Like Gillespie said, recruiting is starting to slip a bit. Progression seems to be slipping too. I mean, you went 10-3 last year, but you lost to, like the guy pointed out earlier, you lost to Kansas, who you had not lost to in almost 25 or 30 years. And to me, you need to bring in more outsiders. You brought in Ben Arbuckle. That was a good thing. Whether he's going to work out or not, I don't know. But from the get-go, Brent seemed like he was kowtowing a little bit to the Bob Stoops clique. And I like Bob Stoops. Don't get pissed off at me. I do like Bob Stoops. But you've got to make your own way, man. And another red flag that was earlier in Brent's coaching career here was when he let go of Cal Gundy, when they were allowed to force him out. Now, people will tell you Cal Gundy resigned on his own. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they want you to think. But we all know that Cal Gundy wouldn't have just resigned voluntarily in the middle of the season without a job in place. He resigned because he knew that if he didn't resign, that they would fire his ass for some stuff that was pretty lame, to be quite honest with you. Pretty weak sauce, race baiting crap. So, yeah, there's that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and invite a few people up in here, if it'll let me. My invite button's not working for some reason. Now, the present button's not working. Well, for some reason, I can't invite people in here right now. StreamYard is lagging. Am I lagging on y'all's end? Because we do have some storms coming through today. Y'all let me know if I'm lagging, if I've been disconnected from the internet. Because I don't know if I have been or not. But anyway. Let's go ahead and, since we're talking about Brent Venables possibly getting the axe, let's go ahead and get ahead of it. Let me hit somebody up real quick. Y'all let me know in the comments section if I am lagging or if the internet's not providing anything. All right, there we go. All right. Let's go ahead and pull up some, I can't because of my damn thing here. Let me pop out real quick and pop back in and see if that'll help. Well, we're having some issues here, some technical issues. I apologize. But anyway, I can't bring up the stats that I want to show y'all, these guys. But if Oklahoma, well, it won't let me invite nobody, man. It's pissing me off, man. They won't even let me present my stuff anymore for some reason. Pissing me off, man. Let me pop out and pop back in. Nope, still ain't letting me. Anyway, since people are already talking about Brent Venables maybe not being here after next year, I know this is what you would call way too early prediction type stuff. So this is way too early to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The first guy that I brought up was Chris Kleiman. I think Chris Kleiman would be an excellent hire for Oklahoma. He followed a legend in Bill Snyder at Kansas State, so he knows what pressure is. He's had Kansas State on a decent trajectory ever since he's been there. Kansas State is not the easiest place to win. As you found out with Ron Prince when he tried to follow Bill Snyder the first time. And before Bill Snyder, as we all know, Kansas State was the losingest program of all time in college football history. So the Bill Snyder turnaround, which is another topic for another day, but the Bill Snyder turnaround was probably more epic than anything that any other legendary coach has done, even Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Bud Wilkinson, all of them. So I think that Chris Kleiman would be an excellent choice if Oklahoma decided to let go of him next year. Let's see what we got in here. Kilbree says, I'm not lagging. Sooners Cowboy says, you can call a fan that complains fair weather, but the facts remains OU has been a bad football program under BV and this staff, and honestly feels like what Jerry Jones and his staff has done. So you're a Cowboys fan. You know, I used to like the Cowboys back in the day when they had Jimmy Johnson and Tom Landry. But what's his name? Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has basically killed any good feelings I could have for the Cowboys until they get rid of them. Yeah, it seems like StreamYard is stuck. You're right. Matthew Wright says the most undisciplined OU team since the 1990s. If OU gets off to a bad start next year, BV won't finish the season. And that's the way a lot of people are starting to feel today. Like I said, might have been better had Brent Venables lost to Alabama and not made a bowl. It would have been better for him. It would have been better for my team, too. Because we would have gotten the damn playoffs had we not lost to Oklahoma. It screwed the SEC, too. All right. Now, the next candidate I brought up for a possible replacement for Brent Venables is Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell is the head coach at Iowa State. He's been there for a few years. He had a down year a couple of years ago, but he's back winning and going to bowl games at Iowa State, which is a hard place to win once again. So I think Matt Campbell would be a great candidate for the Oklahoma Sooners if they decide to let go of Brent Venables. Now, if we're going to go out there and hire another assistant, which I wouldn't suggest doing, because Oklahoma has hired an assistant as their head coach as far back as I can remember. Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley was an assistant before he was hired. Bob Stoops was an assistant before he was hired as head coach. John Blake, same thing. The only one is Howard Schnellenberger. He's the only outlier, but he was only there 1 year. Gary Gibbs was an assistant. Barry Switzer was an assistant. So that's a long line of hiring coaches that aren't really proven as head coaches. Now, it's worked out for the most part, but I think this time around, Oklahoma needs to go out and hire somebody with head coaching experience if they get rid of Brent Venables. But if you are going to hire an assistant, I got a good one for you. Glenn Schumann, who is the defensive coordinator at Georgia. He's a great guy. He's got a great mind for football, and a lot of Oklahoma fans still want to, even though it may not be working out with Brent Venables, they still want to have a good defense because we all know what happened under Tebow, Linky boy. Great offense, no defense, never could win the big games. Yes, they won the Big 12, but I'm talking about national championships and playoff games because Oklahoma doesn't just strive to get in the big bowl games. Oklahoma doesn't just strive to win conference championships. That's something a charity case would hope for, like Okie Pokey Chokey State and Stillwater. Next guy, this may sound like a reach, but it's not really a reach because if LSU can go into Notre Dame and take Notre Dame's coach, then I think Oklahoma could do the same. And it would be paybacks from way back when Notre Dame broke your fabled 47-game win streak and they stole your play like champions sign. It'd be a little payback if y'all were to go up there and take Marcus Freeman off of Notre Dame. And I think it could be done. Notre Dame is notorious for underpaying their head coaches. Now, maybe they learned their lesson, and maybe they're paying Marcus Freeman big bucks, and Oklahoma can't take it. But it wouldn't hurt to call and at least ask Marcus Freeman if he'd be interested in coming to Oklahoma. The last guy's a lot of people on his bandwagon. He's had one great year at the major college football level, and that's Curt Cignetti of Indiana. At first, I wasn't really sold on him. Then I looked at his resume, and I can't pull it up because, like I said, Jackass StreamYard, who I'm paying $44 a month, it might not be after this month, after this crap tonight, or today. But Curt Cignetti had a really good record. I think he's like 137-30 or something like that. He was a head coach at James Madison and brought them up. So he's got a pretty good record and a pretty good resume. He also coached Alabama under Nick Saban, as well as Glenn Schumann. Glenn Schumann graduated from Alabama and coached under Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. So those are the 5 coaches that I would go after if y'all get rid of Brent Venables next year. What about y'all? Sooner Cowboys thinks Darbuckle could be OU's next head coach. Well, if Brent Venables gets fired, they're not going to keep somebody from the staff most likely. Now, if a coach resigns or goes to another job, then you may keep somebody from the staff. But to keep somebody from the staff where you fired the head coach, I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you, Southern Cowboys. Like I said, I can't get all these comments that are coming in. We've got over 45 people, almost 50 people in here. If you want to, there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom. You can click on that, make a small donation, write your comment out after you click on it, and then make sure your comment's wrote out, then hit send. And it'll push it to the top, and it'll highlight it. Also, you can join the Outlaw Posse after this. We got a few people on here who's got the badges tonight. Killer Breeze, Dale Scent. If you want to get your badge and get deputized, it's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. You get your badge, you get deputized, get a random Four Horsemen shout out like those guys did at the beginning of the show, as well as possibly the comment of the day on the actual podcast. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you don't mind, jump out, smash the like button right now. I'm going to take it 5 seconds. Tobin Bradshaw says we need Gundy back as the offensive coordinator. Do you think that'll help? I mean, Gundy was here under Brent Venables the first 2 years, right? I don't know if that helped or not. Having Gundy back as a position coach, now that would be a good idea. I don't know if he'd be a good offensive coordinator or not. I don't think he's ever been an offensive coordinator, has he? Donald Pulal says the 6 games that will define BV next year are Michigan, Texas, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. BV needs to win at least 3 of them. So in order for Brent Venables to keep his job next year, Donald, what you're telling us is that you, as an Oklahoma fan, would be satisfied with 9-3. If Oklahoma goes 9-3 next year, y'all will be satisfied with that. Is that what you're saying? Because, I don't know. I mean, I would be satisfied with 9-3 probably, but I don't know, man. And the way college football is going now, man, you can't keep players from year to year. They're going to have to do something about that. They're going to have to put some rules in place and some contracts in place because it gives these players an unrealistic view of how things are going to go in the NFL. In the NFL, you have to sign contracts. Just saying. JD Wilmoff's in the house. When are you going to rejoin the posse, bro? You keep saying you can't because they got you blocked or something. I don't know what's going on there. If they do replace Brent Venables, they need to hire a coach that has never been affiliated with OU. That way he doesn't feel the need to kiss the alumni and Bob Stoops' ass. I sort of agree with that. But let me ask you this, JD. Would y'all be opposed to Bob Stoops coming out of retirement? Well, he's not really in retirement because he's coaching that semi-pro league or whatever. But would you be opposed to him coming back to college football to coach Oklahoma? Now, a lot of people say, well, Bob's not going to do that because he said blah, 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 health, blah, 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 blah. That's just, I don't believe that, man. I believe if he gets the itch, and he probably does have the itch, and gets the hankering to come back, I think Bob Stoops may be more in play to come back and coach Oklahoma than y'all might think. The truth is in the house. The truth says, as an OU fan, I feel bad for Bama losing to this embarrassment of a football squad. I can only imagine how embarrassed Bama must feel for dropping an L to this squad. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. It hurt my feelings a little bit. I do have a little bit of an agenda here. Alabama. It didn't help us. It didn't help our image too much for Oklahoma to lose to Navy. While there was a lot of extenuating circumstances in that game, Jalen turnover give y'all 14 points, and then we had a touchdown taken away from us in the early part of the fourth quarter. They could have changed the momentum. We'll never know because, once again, the referees across the board, not just Alabama, but everywhere in this nation where we watch football, officiating has become horrid, and they need to make them go to officiating classes and something else during the off season. Make them full-time jobs. That way they have a little more pride in it. They're not some part-time lawyer coming in there just, slinging a flag around. Appalachia Africa Twin with a $10 donation. Appreciate the hell out of that. If OU wants Matt Campbell for their head coach, they better do it quickly is Iowa State is giving Miami all they want, and if MC gets Iowa State's first 11-win season ever, he's getting a contract extension and a pay raise. Yeah, but does Iowa State have the money to go to bat against Oklahoma? That's my question, Appalachia. I don't know. I've heard Iowa State actually has a pretty damn huge enrollment. Sort of sneaky good. A lot of people don't realize how big of an enrollment Iowa State has from what I hear. Now, I may be wrong about that. Just like Central Florida. Central Florida has like the second, maybe even the first biggest enrollment in America. Central Florida does. So I think Central Florida is a sleeping giant that's one day going to take off. Just off the topic a little bit. Niko Commish is in the house, and he says if the strength of schedule is the same as this year, 9-3 would be great. Yeah, 9-3 would be great, and I think it would be hard for them to fire Brent Venables if he goes 9-3. Now, if he goes 8-4, what if he goes 8-4? Do they keep him? Sort of borderline. I think I would probably still maybe keep him another year if he goes 8-4. But if he goes 7-5 or 6-6 again next year, I definitely think Brent Venables will be unemployed as an Oklahoma head coach. And a lot of Clemson fans in our little multi-chat that we have on Facebook. By the way, if you want to be in our little multi-chat on Facebook, you can add me on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark. And I'll add you to that. But in our little multi-chat, we got some Clemson fans in there. And they're already talking that smack, saying that Brent Venables, if y'all don't respect Brent Venables and hold him in high regard, they'll take him back. Well, I'm sure they'll let you have him back. If he don't go at least 8-4, 9-3 next year, I think he's out. And hell, even if he goes 8-4, I think he may be out. I'll be honest with you. I think he definitely has to win 9 games and be in position to win that 10th game going into the bowl game. I think he needs to win the bowl game. I think if he goes 9-4, he may get axed for 9-4. Tim Gillespie is in the house. He'd give a $10 donation. I didn't see your comment, brother, but if you'll write a comment out, if you want me to read out your comment, I'll make sure that I get to your comment first. Sometimes people do these $10 or do these donations and they forget to write the comment first before they hit send. Go ahead and put your comment, Tim, and I will make sure I read it out. Tim Gillespie with a $10 donation, and he has a badge. He's slinging out the dollars today, boy. If BV wins 9 next year, I still won't feel comfortable with him until he does it at least a couple of years in a row. Perhaps the team's inconsistency is reflecting BV's inconsistency. Yeah, I mean, he's never been a head coach before. He's been an assistant for a very long time. There's plenty of teams that could have snagged him up. Now you'll have some people try to make you believe that he was the leading candidate for the Tennessee job and that he turned down Tennessee. That never happened. If Tennessee had offered Brent Venables the job, he would have took it because it's a big-time program. It'd be different if it was someone like Southern Miss or Louisiana Monroe or some shit. I could understand him turning it down. But if Tennessee had offered him a job, I'm sure he would have took it. And that's another thing a lot of people have a question about with Brent Venables is why didn't anybody else try to snag him up before Oklahoma? The only reason he was hired at Oklahoma is because he had a history there at Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's in that same mold that Alabama is sometimes. We like to hire people that are, have history with our program because we're a blue blood. And sometimes it's hard for outsiders coming in to understand that, and they end up getting run off. Nick Saban was an anomaly. Most time a coach comes in that's not got any connections to Alabama, they have a hard time here. But, yeah, that's why lots of times, blue bloods like Oklahoma and Alabama and Ohio State and Michigan and the USC Skittle Shitters, sometimes they like to go with someone that's connected to the program. USC ain't been doing that as much here lately, but it don't really matter. They keep losing because nobody really wants to play in Los Angeles anymore. I'll be honest with you. The city of Los Angeles is nobody really wants to be there. They'll say they like it there and they love it there, but, man, it's done become just a general sewage dump to me. I mean, people just crapping in the streets and not attending the games. I mean, they don't even go to their home games, let alone going to a road game or a bowl game. I don't think they had really good attendance at the Las Vegas Bowl the other night. They're too busy attending transgender volleyball tournaments in Santa Barbara, or whatever it is they do in their off time. So that's my thoughts on the whole thing. I just wanted to come in here and rant on it a little bit because I've had a few Oklahoma fans and some other fans take exception with me over my little short I done the other day. Basically telling me to mind my own business and blah, 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 blah. But college football is my business. And I don't just because I'm an Alabama fan doesn't mean I don't like other teams. You're like, well, I can tell a bandwagon. No, it's not a bandwagon fan. It just means you like other teams. It's just like food, anything. You like pizza. Pizza's your favorite food. It's your go-to. But you do like shrimp. Well, that's me. I like shrimp and pizza. I like Alabama and Oklahoma. So, and I'm just a little concerned about it. I was the biggest supporter of Brent Venables the last 3 years, man. But that Navy game just didn't sit right with me, man. I know you only had 56 players, man, but it just didn't sit right with me, man. And if y'all got anything else to say, y'all want to make a donation to the program, like I said, at the bottom there's a little money dollar sign. Just click on that, write your comment out, and I'll answer your questions before I get up off of here. But this live stream will go to podcast after we get off of here. And you can go in there and like, share, comment, and subscribe on it. Then you can also share it out with your friends. I need as many subscribers as I can get. We did finally pass the milestone of 5,000 subscribers, and I'd like to once again thank every single one of y'all that have helped me get there. So that's my thoughts on the situation. I think that, Brent Venables is now on the clock. He'll get this next year. And if he don't go, like a few of you already said, at least 9-3 or 10-3, I think that Brent Venables could be in trouble and could be looking for another job. Unfortunately, he's a good guy, but good guys, just like the heart with Michael Hawkins. Heart is a great thing to have, but sometimes you can't just win on heart alone and being a good guy alone. You got to have a little bit of talent and a little bit of coaching prowess. And I'm not sure if Brent has that coaching prowess. Maybe he's just a one side of the ball kind of guy. Just like Lincoln Riley, except he's on the opposite side, right? Mike Cappy's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. Mike Cappy says, I honestly think Jackson Arnold and Auburn will beat OU. 9-3 will be a tough ask, says Mike Cappy. So let me ask you this. Mike was sort of disagreeing with me a little bit off the air. Let me ask you this, Mike. If Oklahoma goes 9-3 and they win their bowl game, go 10-3, that'll probably be enough to keep Brent in one more year, right? But what if they go 9-4 or 8-4 or 8-5? Would that be enough? Where's the line at? The truth can only support mess for so long before you have no choice to tell it how it is. And I agree with you, Truth. You should come be on the program sometimes, brother. You look like a mean joker. Like you could lay the smack down on some candy asses up in here for me. You could be my enforcer, man. The truth is here. And the truth says, and the bottom line is, you're going to have to show us something, Brent. It's been 3 years now. I think that's plenty of time, and you're going to get a fourth season. I think if what happened when Lincoln Riley had not happened the way it did, you'd probably already be in trouble. But because of what Stinky Linky did, going out there and bedding up with the skittle shitters the way he did, raiding the program while he was still employed at Oklahoma, I think people have taken that into account in Oklahoma. I think they've been really patient, and you are getting a fourth season. So 4 seasons is enough to prove yourself. So I think that Brent needs to at least win 9 or 10 games next year to keep his job. NIL Commish says 8-5 might not cut it. I agree. I think he's got to win 9, maybe 10. According to how the bowl game goes. If you go 9-3 and go in the bowl game, you get embarrassed, you get beat by someone like Navy again, that may make that 9 wins not as great. If OU beats Texas next year, he will keep his job, says D. Williams. I don't know. I mean, if he beats Texas and then loses a bunch of games like he did to Kansas and Oklahoma State, again, Would it be enough to keep him? Mike says, hey, Outlaw, I agree with you that Hawk and ready to be quarterback one, but I didn't mind going for two. Well, I minded it a lot because you hadn't been scoring a lot of points all game. You scored 14 points in the first quarter, and you hadn't scored any points since then. And if you've been running up and down the field and scoring points, and it was a high-scoring game, and it was in the 30s or 40s, I could see going for two. I'm just saying that he didn't read the room correctly, in my opinion. Killer Breeze with a $4.99 donation. The doubts about BV at this point are warranted. We have multiple issues, and a lot of them are fundamental, and that is a problem. Yeah, regardless of how many players you got, if you're still fundamentally getting it wrong, it don't matter if you have 56 players or 106 players. Right? Great point. Great point. Once again by the Oklahoma Roughneck, Killer Breeze. And this damn thing pissed me off tonight, man. Froze up and won't let me invite nobody in here. Won't even let me present my stuff I had with the possible head football coaches. But I think we're going to close out on that. That's a good note to close out on. Killer Breeze, I appreciate you as always, brother. If you don't mind, as I said before, this thing will go to podcast after I get off of here. Like, share, comment, subscribe on there. Get your badge if you want to. Little badge, as you can see right here. Killer Breeze and Mike Cappy have one. If you want to be an Outlaw Posse and get your random Four Horsemen shout out like the guys earlier in the program did, it's not for $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week, and you'll also be up for the random comment of the day. With that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed. They won't even let me close out. Boo! I'm back. this shit's froze up, man. It still froze up. I'm trying to get up out of it. I had to come in on my phone and close this shit out, man. And I'm paying $44 a month for this crap? Yeah. Somebody else fixing KMCA. Might be StreamYard.